So today we're going to talk about proximity, which is really one of the strongest tools you can use in discipline. Some of you do it instinctively. Some of you tend to be camped out at the front and don't really use it so much. It's more of our voices. We want to encourage you to be a little more mobile in the classroom and use this proximity a little bit more. Knowing that 1 ounce of prevention is a pound of cure, worth a pound of cure. Make it easier on yourself on the front end, you know, instead of having to deal with all the discipline on the back end. Calm is powerful. Steve's going to do something with you about that. Eliminate potential problems, identify them early. You know, some things can be fixed by a simple seating change, especially if it's a bad day for a kid, or there's a chemistry that's not working so well at a table. You can do a lot of proactive stuff by just eliminating on the front end. If you potentially see a problem, don't wait till it is a problem. Jump on it early. And think it out. Classroom organization is a huge factor in classroom control. I know we had some conversations last time about, I want to say it was a special ed classroom. And we were talking about visual boundaries for the kids and visual areas being marked off. You know, sometimes a bookshelf can do wonders to break things up in a classroom, especially the young kids, because you don't want a whole lot of open territory for them to run or get kind of wild. And so we had talked about that. And here we are to talk about it again. So ideally, I'm not a rogue person. I think there's a lot of social aspect to teaching and learning, and I think that's huge. But we were talking about student desk. Do you guys remember what we talked about? The best situation was scenario.
You'll be able to get to one end of the next one in about 2 to 3 seconds.
Correct. And what were those zones?
Red, orange, yellow.
Never orange. We never mentioned the
Sorry, red.
Yellow, orange is not permitted in this class.
Oh, good Lord, Mr. Giants. He hates the Giants. So red, yellow, and green. And when you're in the red area, what is that generally, how are the kids behaving?
Good.
Yeah, because you're right there, right? They're a little like, it's like having the cop standing over them. Yellow, you're a little bit away, they're kind of itching to kind of see where you are. And then green is that group over there. They're going to get away with murder, at least in their mind. Instructional style, I'm not really sure what that is because I think that goes more towards lesson planning, doesn't it? Yeah. And be flexible. Don't be so rigid in your setup. You know, be willing sometimes to break it up and do circles. Break it up and do, if you have seats in duos, don't be afraid to pull 4 of them together to do a project. Number 1, it breaks up the monotony. And number 2, you also can kind of watch and see which kids work better together. And sometimes that is trial by error. You can't really plan it. You know, you can go home and plan what you think is the best seating arrangement, and then you get into class, and you set it up, and you realize that you've got that kid that's going to be friendly with everyone, you know. And you have to find a way to handle that kid. And maybe put them by the kids that never talk. Because then you get them to interact. It may not be exactly how you want it interacting, but it can sometimes help. And know your special needs. Yes, you have your IEPs and your 504s. What about the kids that fall through the cracks? If you see a kid in the back doing this, you probably need to move them up. If a kid tells you every day that they have headaches, you probably need to move them up. If you see a kid constantly turning their head, they probably have hearing issues. And these are things that maybe parents haven't identified or allowed the testing for, and you don't want that kid to fall through the cracks. So look for those signs. Sometimes the kid in the back that is being a total jerk may have a hearing problem, may have a sight problem, may have never been tagged as special ed, but have a learning disability. And so you have to identify that and maybe try to step in. And again, if that kid's not treated, yes, treated is not the word. If that,
Diagnosed.
Yeah, diagnosed, or the kid his needs are not met, or her needs are not met, then you're going to have a behavior problem. So if you can be proactive and identify that, you can cut a lot of that down. And know when to change your seating assignments. I don't encourage, changing every week, but you need to identify if they're getting a little too comfortable together, or because especially if you have junior high, their hormones are raging. So pretty soon you're going to realize that everybody at the table has a boyfriend and a girlfriend right there. And then they're sneaking holding hands under the table, and they're playing footsie, and basically not paying attention to a word of what you're doing. So identify, they're getting a little cozy, time to split them up. Granted, they're probably going to be girlfriends with somebody else at another table or boyfriends right away, but at least you bought a little time. The other thing is, if you have kids that absolutely hate each other. My first year at Central, I taught I taught RSP, and I had a boy in there who was deaf, and he had an aide, an interpreter. And then I had a kid that, unbeknownst to me, was a white supremacist. My deaf child was African American. And they were fine for the longest time. And all of a sudden one day I'm like, whoa, something's going on. And of course the aide's not going to do anything. I mean, that's above their pay grade, and I get it. But they were back sitting together about like you two. And there was no yelling because the one student wouldn't yell. But I started to realize things were getting ugly. And by the time I recognized it, they were already grabbing each other and getting ready to go at it. So I should have identified that really early on as a potential problem, and I did it. I didn't catch it. I don't know if I was so thrown by him being deaf and not being incredibly verbal in that. I don't know. I don't know what my issue was. I don't have an excuse, but just realizing that I should have recognized that pretty quickly. That also tells me I didn't know the kid that claimed to be white supremacist, because I should have heard it or read it in some, I should have been able to see it, and I didn't. So anyway, just be aware, because not only are you going to have kids that need to be moved around frequently, but you're also going to need to do it for your own sanity sometimes. And when it says, know when to change, it doesn't mean you have to change everybody either. You get a few key people, see how it works. I think I always thought it was kind of fun to design my seating chart, even though once I got into the class they didn't always work. But I loved it. It was almost like designing a game plan, and being a coach, I thought it was really cool. They talk about the teacher power position, that you need to be the focus of these kids. So one of the things, and it's not up here yet, but this wall behind you needs to be pretty barren, because you want the kids focused on you. The other thing is, the desk cannot be up front where you're copping a squat on it. You want it out of the way, out of the limelight, so that while you're up here, you're teaching. You're up and teaching. A lot of you have those, tablets, whatever kind of tablets you guys have, and you can run your smartboard from that tablet. Use that to your advantage. Pace. Be in the back. Make them uncomfortable. You don't only have to move when things are going badly. If you keep moving, they're never sure. And you can teach from the back of the room, which I used to have my desk in the back of the room because I like the fact that they didn't know if I was watching them or not. And this is high school. But you guys have elementary, so just keep pacing. Have your tablet. You're still talking. You don't stop. You're just moving around the room. Does that make sense? I don't know. Do all of you have tablets? No. No? So for those of us that are like Central High School, lacking technology situation, for you, it's totally physical. So a lot of yours is going to have to be up here in order for you to either write on your whiteboard, or depending on how, I don't know how behind some districts are. I know Central had none. We were still using overhead. So you have to use the board. But as soon as you've got the kids working on a problem or writing a sentence, pace all the way around. And don't do it like, okay, I have a set pattern. Keep it unpredictable. Keep it to your advantage, and then work it so that you're right back up here before they even know it. Okay, we're gonna work on number 2. And it's all a timing thing. Kind of a, I don't know, classroom ballet. Like you kind of have your own little pirouette, you know, to get around the classroom and hit these kids at the right time. The parking thing, if any of you have health issues, I found it really hard at times, some days, to be able to do that. Like sometimes you just don't have the strength to pace or to do all that. So it's important that make adjustments. If you're sick or you have a really bad day, go sit at different tables, but don't sit too long. Sit long enough that these kids know that you're watching them, and then get up and go to another one, and go to another one. The point is, don't ignore tables, don't ignore kids. And one of the things I was thinking about on the way over here, because somebody mentioned it, I don't know where, but anyway, what about the quiet kids? Like we tend to forget them because they're easy, right? They're easy, they don't demand a lot of attention. So in your CD chart, when it said identify special needs, those kids are kind of your special needs. Like somehow you need to bring it to your attention that, okay, I need to remember Beth because she's super quiet and I tend to pass over her. Because she's not demanding your attention, she's a smart kid, there's nothing, she's very inconspicuous. I would identify them also. I'm saying that as somebody who didn't when I was in the classroom. But I was thinking about how key that would be if you could remember those kids and check in with them every day. And let that kid know, I see you. You know, I see you, I'm not going to embarrass you, but I see you. Because a lot of those kids will try to merge into the back wall, and you may never see them, they may never speak up, those kind of deals. And when you are teaching or in the classroom at all, and you are up talking, you should be the focus. Don't let them be working on their sentences, old homework. They should be looking at you. And this is where I was talking about this front of the classroom. It needs to be distraction free. They should be able to see the time. They should be able to see the board. And you should use what technology you have effectively. I don't know, what do you guys have? Do you have a smart board or anything like that?
I have a Promethean like that, and then I have the Promethean that looks like a TV.
Okay, what about you?
Same thing.
Same? Do you guys all have smart boards?
Promethean one,
Yeah, Promethean? No? Sounds like you guys got the short end of the stick.
Just asked for it a couple years in a row now.
So maybe one day, when they're outdated, you'll get one.
But we feel comfortable with cover paths because we have different cues of transition, we use it, we use visuals,
Perfect.
and so we're always engaging our parents in the classroom.
Oh, perfect, perfect.
The only thing that we are requesting right now, because we keep following teacher salaries and stuff, we just have a Bluetooth speaker.
Oh, right. And they're not, you can get them fairly cheap now. So use the technology to the best of your abilities. I mean, I think ideally when you have the tablet and you don't have to stand in one area or touch the board constantly, you can do it from elsewhere. I think that's ideal. But, you know, we're not all that fortunate. So you got to wing it. Are there any questions so far about any of this? Or concerns? Or it's hot in here, Steve.
It is.
You feel like it?
It was cold in here an hour ago.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, it was freezing last time, and now it's...
Now,
Look, I'm...
you said that they need to be able to see the time. I have a clock, but they can't read it.
Yes.
So they take and do this to see the time.
Because of the digital, yeah.
Or they ask you on your own time.
That's, yeah.
What time is it? What time is it?
So, I don't know, a couple things. You could put up a digital, a big one next to the clock. But, I mean, you would think these kids would have learned how to read a clock, but that's not the case. Yeah, true. And really, I hate it when my high schoolers do the time anyway, because then they start packing 3 minutes early, 5 minutes early. But, I guess they don't have to see the time. I mean, nowadays they have it on their computers. They do have it on, most of them have smart watches, more, you know, better watches than I could ever have. And so, I don't know, I guess that depends on you as a teacher.
You could set a timer if you need to tell them that they have 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I do with the Google timer.
Yeah, I do the timer on class
Kids don't know how to read
Yeah.
analog clocks, they can read the digital ones.
Yeah.
And then I know that he does it all the time with Google Timer. I haven't mastered that yet. I've tried to do it when I'm teaching online and I can't figure it out. But so try that, I guess. How old?
7th grade.
Oh yeah, they should probably know how to read a clock, but maybe not. I don't know, because I was just thinking if you put a digital up next to the analog, they might be able to slowly learn by connection. Maybe not, but there might be one kid in the classroom that goes, oh, when it says 304 here, this is what it looks like here. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's not really an answer, but that's kind of your preference, I think, with the clock then.
It's just because they want to know what time it is, and because they can't read that, even during instruction, they try and peek it up and
Yeah,
see the time.
I don't know.
You know there's a clock on the wall.
Even though it's
They can't read it.
They can't read it.
Teach them how to read.
Sure. Amongst everything else I have to teach them.
Well, I mean, ours, the problem is the digital clock, like you can't read the time. Like you literally can't see it.
Oh,
It's a digital clock, but you can't. You can see like
Oh.
one of the numbers.
that's good fun.
Yeah, it's super fun. They're like, what time is it? I'm like, this is what time it is. Like
Yeah.
I have to use my watch because you can't.
Well,
read
that's
the
not,
actual
that's
clock,
not very,
digital clock anymore.
that's not very great.
Yeah.
So can you get it fixed?
I mean, most of the classrooms are like that.
Oh,
Yeah. Like I'll walk in, I've walked into like one where I was like, wow, you can read your clock, that's awesome.
my clock never, in 20 years, was never right.
Yeah.
And they controlled it from the office, never right.
And the time changes itself.
And then when the time changed, it was even worse. And then, or in the middle of class, it would start going, and all the kids would be like, dude, look, and of course that was a distraction.
Yeah.
It was never smooth, never worked well, it stunk. So, yeah. On top of the fact that we usually had snakes loose because we were out in the country and, you know, just all the little distractions that we had all the time, so. So we talked about, aside from classroom, Steve's gonna talk a lot today about how we handle things, like physically handle things with our stress levels. You know, one of the things he's gonna talk about is going home. Every day you go home, you're still pretty wired. About 30 minutes after you get home, you're ready for a nap. A lot of that is from the buildup all day and all the stress all day. When you find that you're repeating yourself 5, 10, 15 times, which I was one of those, I need you to be quiet. I need you to be quiet. Bobby, I need you to be quiet. Bobby, come on now, help me out. Bobby, really, you need to stop. And then finally it was, Bobby, shut up! Like, I've lost it. Instead of dealing with Bobby at the initial problem, I let it build. So basically, I climbed the staircase. The other thing is, when you have a kid who has attitude, like you come over and you say something to them and they go, right. Okay, that right there would send me into a... But then you're like, okay, look, I need you to, whatever's going on, let's chill for a bit. And then a few minutes later, the kid's like, I don't even want to be here. And you're like, yeah, well, neither do I. So, but we're here, so we're going to make the best of it. And then a little while later, the kid's got his head down, her head down. Hey, what's going on? I don't need to talk to you. Now, granted, I'm being very calm right now because it's not a real situation, but I can tell you in real life, I would be boiling. Okay, I am taking the bait. This kid is egging me on. And I think, I don't know if Steve said it in here yet or not, but the kids don't get in trouble because of their back talk, they get in trouble because of our back talk, right? So I could choose to ignore this child because clearly this child is having a hard day. This is probably not a child that normally acts like this. She's having a bad day, he's having a bad day, and I need to talk to him, but now's not the time. So instead of constantly coming over here and provoking, I needed to let that go and deal with it later. Because now this kid has sucked up my time. He's sucked up, or she's sucked up a good few moments where I could be focusing on the rest of my class who is doing what I want them to do. This child's clearly tuned out. But as long as I keep coming back, that child is taking me up the staircase. Or if a kid says, I don't want to be here, this sucks. If I react, that's back talk. I'm basically engaging this child into a debate. You don't want to take the bait, you don't want to let the child suck you into a debate. Because although you may win the battle, you're not going to win the war. And getting into a battle of the wills with a child is not worth it. So remember, don't take the bait, don't climb the staircase, realize what's happening, take a breath, do some of the stuff that Steve's going to talk about later, and just realize that when you do this, you lose physically. You're going to lose. Because you're going to have a bad day the rest of the day. Most likely. Unless you're one of those people that are really zen, and you can just like, in between classes, relax. Or when the kids go to recess and they come back and everything, you've reset. I'm not really sure any humans would actually do that, but perhaps you're one of them. Are you guys ready for this video? It's kind of cool. Yeah. Have you ever seen this? Anyone? Okay. Any questions right now? This is going to be a little different than what we were talking about. So any questions about classroom? Anything like that? Concerns? Times when this didn't work for you? Times when you've actually jumped in on the debate? I had a kid one time and never said a word to me, ever. But he sat in the back corner, and one day I guess he was having a bad day. And I said something like, I need you to be quiet. And his response was, screw you. Okay. Number one, I called him out. And you know what most kids are going to do. But then I responded. I said, you need to shut your mouth. And he stood up and said, what are you going to do? And I was like, like at this point, I've lost complete control. And I'm like, well, you need to go to the office. And I don't know, he said some cuss word. And I'm like, you need to go. Well, while he was sitting in the office, apparently he was telling everyone how he was going to get me fired. And one of my kids happened to be in the office and heard it, and of course came to me. And so I let the administration know this kid's after me. I just want you to know this is what happened, this is how it went. And he ended up being one of my favorite kids. But it was a rocky go there for a while. Because he had a bad day and I challenged him. And I called him out and embarrassed him. And he wasn't having that. And I get it. I get it, because if a teacher, I had one teacher call me out in 5th grade. I hated her, I still hate her. Still. That was 5th grade. Because she told me I was the one that always had the answers. You know, that kid, annoying as hell. That's me. And she finally said, Jenny, enough. We need to let other people answer. And in my head, I was like, screw you, you're never getting anything out of me again then. I'm done. And of course, my mother, this was before computers, and we happened to have a computer because my dad worked in the industry. And my sister had her a few years later and typed a paper for her. And she gave her an F and sent it back and said, I will not take anything typewritten. She said, computers are not going to take off. Okay, how'd that work for you? But the woman was evil. Evil. And so, hated her. And it was all because she told me to, stop asking questions or answering questions. Is the sound on?
Yes. I think so. Might be muted.
high school age, but anybody want to comment on how that applies to all levels?
I was thinking about, I teach kindergarten, but I came across a family member of someone who, she has a great niece that's at our school. Met her this weekend, and she said, just so you're aware that my niece says these things to her daughter. She's ugly, that she's not, just all these bad things to her. So if she acts out, know that she's got this at home. And it happened to be my coworker's student. And I just told her, I came across this information, it might be helpful for you. If this child, lashes out or things are happening, her mom looks great on the outside, but these are the things she supposedly says to her on the, So she's a kindergartner.
Oh.
And I told her, I said, I have a foster kid that is in my class, and he always tells me I'm a jerk. And he tells me, and he tries in his head against the table, and I'm constantly just sitting with him, like, telling me, you're awesome. Any moment I can, you're awesome. I want you to know I love having you here. And he's in kindergarten. So,
Oh my God, the damage already.
yeah, they have trauma already, and we see it a lot now. And the biggest thing I think about is when Christmas comes, when Thanksgiving comes, how they react out. And I just try to over-love them before they go, because I know that sometimes we're the only love they get.
Oh yeah, that's very true.
So even in kindergarten, yeah.
Anyone else? Yeah.
I have a new kid who is now my biggest challenge. He started Monday and he exhausts me. I will tell you that right now. He is deaf plus, which means he's deaf plus he has an additional disability. And he's in a new environment, and I get that. It's a new environment. He actually has expectations on him now. It's not just, sit in this group and do what they're doing, copy from their neighbor. Like, I'm actually expecting this kid to learn the alphabet, how to write his name, how to do all these things, and he keeps telling us no. But he also, he does as much avoidance as he can from doing work. So sometimes it takes the two of us to be able to get him to work and stuff. And at one point, he realized, oh crap, they're serious. And he started getting upset. And I just I sat with him while my aide took my kids out, the other kids out to recess, and I sat down with him. He finished his work real quick. And after trying to avoid it the whole time, and then I got down on my knees, because he's a little guy, he's like first grade. I got down on my knees, I got eye level with him. I was like, you are smart. I was like, you can do this. I want you to learn. And I want you to become more smart. And he was like, okay. And he just gave me the biggest hug. And he didn't want to let go. And he gave them to me 2-3 times in a row. And I don't know what's going on. I've met his mom a couple times. And she seems to be very standoffish, very much like, okay, I'm here, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and then
Is he the only deaf child in the home, I assume?
Mm-hmm. Well, no, yes and no. Because his mom's also hard of hearing, but no hearing aids, doesn't sign, has had no resources, as far as I know, to services for herself. So I mean, it's just there's a story there. He's got issues upon issues upon issues, and it's I come home exhausted, and I just
I'm
can't.
sure. Steve will do something today that he'll teach you some stuff. I was at a school, and there was this little guy. They asked me to come and observe, and he was first grade. And she's like, I can't deal with him. I can't deal with him. He just doesn't listen. Every time I ask him to do something, he says, nope, not going to do it. Nope, not going to do it. Please come in and watch this kid. I'm like, all right. So I come in, and I'm watching him, and he's pretty much saying nope to everything. Can you sit down and write? Nope, I'm not going to do it. And so I started talking to the teacher, and I'm like, what do you know about his family life? Well, his mother is dying of cancer, and she's been dying for 3 years. And his father left the family. Grandma's living in the house. And she's kind of went on. And I said, time out. I'm 51 and my mother's dying and I can't get my head around it. How do you think a 7-year-old is gonna get his head around the fact that his mother's dying? And I said, and he's watching it. For 3 years, he's watched this. He watched Dad walk out on them, so he thinks he's the man of the house. And I said, and Grandma's taking care of Mom and is too involved in taking care of Mom to really pay attention to him. And anybody who's had somebody in their family die understands how that works with the whole caretaking. And I said, he's mad. He's pissed. And she said, they said that, the school said that he's gradually gotten worse, like harder. Well, of course. And I kind of looked at him and I said, who's even tried to crack him? Like, has anybody sat down? I mean, the kid's labeled as a punk. He's constantly in the office. And I said, who's like reached out? I said, he's got a hard shell, but it's not unbreakable. Like, who's going to try to reach this kid? And I sat down with him at one point, and he's the kid that, you know, when everybody's doing an activity, he's got his arms in his shirt. And then we were just standing off, and I told the teacher, ignore him for a minute. Just do your lesson, don't worry about him. And he gets his backpack, and he has it on his head, and he's doing everything he can to distract people. And there was another teacher, and we just stood there. We didn't react, we just kind of, he was listening the whole time. They were doing a book. He totally was engaged, but he was engaged in his special way. And she didn't react. He eventually put the backpack down and paid attention, was answering questions. She goes, I don't know what just happened. He's never done that. And I said, well, you weren't yelling at him. You weren't saying, you know, so-and-so you need to go, so-and-so you need to stop, so-and-so. You didn't call him out. I said, he's smart. He's really smart. Which generally you guys know that most of the kids that are the worst sometimes are the smartest. Anyway, I sat down and talked with him one day, and he said, I have a headache. And I said, do you get much sleep? And he goes, not last night. My grandma's dog barked all night. That dog never shuts up, and so I don't get to sleep. And I'm like, okay, right there's a big red flag. You know, big red flag. Nobody's making this boy go to sleep. He's probably not eating well. You know, and I said, well, that stinks. What kind of dog? And he says, well, my dad has 2 dogs, too. What kind of dogs are they? Pit bulls? I go, what are their names? He goes, well, he doesn't really have them, but they come visit him sometimes. Okay. So I'm getting all this a little bit. So then I was talking to the teacher. I'm like, look, this kid's not getting sleep. Mother's dying. Grandma doesn't pay attention. Dad's out of the picture. I said, this kid needs somebody to just reach him. So then she said, as we're talking, he went out to PE, or recess, whatever they call it. And he didn't come in. Because I talked to the teacher in between, I was waiting for him to come in. He didn't come in. So I asked this other administrator, I'm like, what happened to him? And she said, oh, he's in the office, he doesn't feel well. She says he has a fever. I'm like, oh, okay, he really didn't feel well. So I walked into the office when I was leaving, and I said, hey, and I called his name. I said, you okay? And he goes, yeah, I have a fever, and it's 101, so they told me I can't be here anymore, so I'm going home. And he's sobbing. And I mean, I know part of that is because he really didn't feel good. But the other part was he didn't want to leave school. And he's holding his belly. Of course, the next day he's back. Well, if he had a fever 104 or 101, I'm pretty sure he was probably sick. But of course, Mom's going to send him because, you know, we're paid babysitters. And I thought, this poor little guy just needs somebody to stop yelling at him and talk to him. Not that his behavior is going to correct right away. But if he knew that somebody loved him and cared about what was going on in his life, he's just put up such a hard shell. And you know, immediately what I thought of is, he is fast-tracking it to be a gangbanger. He's fast-tracking to keep people at bay, or just a criminal, because he doesn't want anybody to reach him. And if nobody reaches him, he's never going to learn the right way. And it was so sad to me to see this little boy just be, I mean, he was adorable and smart. But nobody was paying much mind of him because he was such a pain. And every teacher that had passed him on, oh, you got him, he's a pain. So remember that, you know, you can make the difference. It's not going to be easy. This kid's going to be a tough shell to crack, but it can be cracked. And it's hard. And when I think about like this, you know, with high school we dealt with a lot of suicidal, not a lot, let me clarify, not a lot. But we dealt with kids who were cutting. My niece was a cutter. And she was a cutter when she lived with her mom. Because We called the cops, she called the cops, and every time they made her go back to her. And instead of saying, honey, we're gonna protect you, they just kept sending her back to the home. And she got to the point of pure desperation. And I think she thought if she cut, somebody at school would notice. And nobody did. And finally, she posted something on Facebook about suicide. And of course, we all jumped on that puppy and had CPS and everybody there. They still left her. And this is after they had visited the house and there was meth in the house. They still left her. So I mean, this kid was hopeless. So again, when you see a kid cutting, it's not automatically that, oh, this kid's got psychiatric problems. Sometimes they just need help. And it may not be the kind of help that we're all used to giving. That was the biggest thing. And I know these were high school students, but you guys have kids that come in depressed. Maybe not clinically depressed or identified yet, but their home situations are going to create some of that. You may have eating disorders that early. My nephew was he had a father who was very abusive at the table. Yelled at him about eating clean, don't make a mess, and if he made a mess, knocked his head off, to the point that John ended up having an eating disorder at 5. Can you imagine? Like, the kid had issues the rest of his life until he became an adult, and now he's an amazing father, but major issues. And I thought, how can a kid that young have an eating disorder? But it happens. So anyway, I'm totally off track. 10-minute break, and then Steve's going to teach you guys how to be find your zen. I realized that wasn't at all what I was supposed to be talking about, but that's what I love, so. But now you get to do all the healthy stuff. So Miranda asked to come lunch. And I said, well, I'm not doing most of it today, but you're welcome to come next time or whatever. And she goes, I mean, the more experience I get, the better. She wants to be a teacher. And I was like, heck yeah. Come in and watch, girl. And then she knows that on the phone she probably is. I think most of it is wanting to see us.
I feel like there was so much adrenaline right after school.
She made us better at it.
And they sat down and now I'm just like, oh, you crap.
I know, but I get that. But when I'm doing online teaching, I have a little screen. But when I go into it, it's Zoom. So they have a whiteboard. And they have where I can share my screen. But if they're in like breakout room, it doesn't share my screen. So a timer would only be really for me, so I just put it on my phone. It's kind of, I don't know, I haven't figured it all out. It's kind of, it's very different. I mean, the whole online thing is different from me. I think I can talk about something like that because I think that we kind of that we look for. I think that's the hardest thing. I think we'll actually be ready to talk about themselves. And within reason. My mom made a comment. That's
My journal, this is the September one, and I realized that I put 11, like November instead of September, because I was looking at the sample. But I did put their right dates, it's just that the month is wrong, so should I like email you?
No, you can do one of two things. You can go in, unsubmit it,
Oh, okay.
resubmit it.
Okay.
If you haven't done it, or you can leave a comment. Oops, I forgot to change the dates.
Oh, okay.
It's really good to, the readers are just now getting into there.
Oh, okay.
That's been covered, but I have 2 readers that I have yet to train, so I'm meeting them this week. So would be one of those people program around teachers, don't tell them.
Oh, okay, that's,
And they have 7 days-ish to read your stuff and turn it back after school. You do it by by next Friday to do it, but not, but the easiest thing right now, how you set your user list. And some of it will make your notes.
okay, sometimes it says like, ask for access or something like that, or
Well,
to reset one.
that's because the manager submitted it.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay, so,
I don't see it, so I would have to give it to them.
yeah, so I can do that and have one.
If you unsubmit it, you have permission.
Oh, okay, that's right. Okay, thank you.
My mom, when I was there, a while back, she said, you know, Jenny. No.
That's why it's there for me.
Here, trash can. My mom said, you know, Jenny, I don't put my house up. Could you let me, you're really open about your illnesses? I don't feel like I'm doing either. And, she said, well, I'm just trying to leave. She made it sound like I was trying to, but you realize I work. Do you know how many of those kids in their life have some kind of illness? And I said, I don't understand. You can live with us. You know, live in this. You don't need to be, you know. Come on, that's not life. It's just mom. So if I walk in and do wrong, they see me really flushed one day, I guess. You don't think they're too worried. Well,
So it's also a different generation.
she's always been, the first time she had cancer, I was kind of stuff up. And she thought she was not telling me.
My dad doesn't talk about these stuff.
I mean, I guess it is.
Thursday you're absent because of surgery.
Yes.
You're having surgery Wednesday.
I'm so sorry for mom.
Wow, oh my.
Mom wanted
What's the first thing that you wanted to say?
Yep. Because I'm nothing that kind of night. You know, that whole starvation thing. But my surgery's at 5:15 in the morning, so I'm okay.
So, I had last spring, I had diverticulitis, and we had a general practitioner said, you can't eat until you're examined. And it was a week later before I got to see the oncologist, whatever the intestine bed is called.
Yeah.
How did they have you do that? Like,
A lot of jello and broth, and water. Because there was a concern based on the symptoms that I was leaking into my abdomen.
Oh.
It wasn't. Or maybe it was a little bit, but not enough. Don't want to tell me special pieces. It's really, really small. It's really free of symptoms. But it happens again. Ate it. Drink lots of water. So Thursday, you're absent in Washington.
I told that though.
That's fine. But what I need is what you're intending to cover.
Yeah.
Because your class is kind of, well, it's falling on heads.
Right.
So you have to tell me if we're talking to them.
I'll have your PowerPoint set up. I'm gonna work on that, I guess I'll work on it tonight. If I could look at my laptop and work on it later. But I'll have it ready to go. And then, it's pretty much that, then your gig anyway.
The handouts to go with that, don't need to photocopy.
I'll send them, any handouts I have, I send to them and they'll have them.
When I take it. But let me know what you're having, so I know.
I will.
I don't have a problem taking it, I just wanna know what I'm covering.
Yeah. And then, that's it. And he knows, he may not remember, because I was talking to him in school. He knows.
Madison might be next. Let me see. We have, let me do trying to do some special things next semester, and since 16 programs this summer. Oh God, that's expensive.
Seriously? Sending us?
I don't know, so we take it for you.
Who's the principal?
Mercedes. She would know, and she would like
He's down to water.
And
He's so young. I know. But it's only once every 24 hours, and then it kind of starts wearing off. I don't think it's that high of a dosage. It starts wearing off. Around like noon. Ish. I don't think he gets that. And then he gets it regularly at school. I don't have any kids with me.
All right, you guys ready?
Makes me nervous.
All right, we're going to talk about exploiting proximity. And one thing I would like you to do is close your laptops, put your phones away, and get prepared to interact with one another. You need a partner. And I know that there are 21 of you in the class today. So one set needs 3. But everyone else needs 2. 1 each. You need a partner. You need a partner. All right. Now the premise is this: that you want to not show emotion on 2 different sides of the continuum. On the one hand, you don't want to laugh when the kid does something silly or foolish, because you can lose control of the class when you start laughing. But not as bad as getting mad. And because getting mad puts your body into that fight-flight reflex system that we talked about last time we were here. So you understand how stress affects your body. Think about it for a moment, and in your table groups, talk about how stress affects you physically. How does it affect you physically? Talk about it in your table.
It's exhausting. I don't have energy for my 2-year-old at home. I'm like, oh, look, a movie. Oh, look, cards. I feel like I can eat more or less. Yeah, keep that stress. Skittles in my desk. Immediately stressed and chocolate.
Before you come out and you stop and you
I get really
the right words you want before regretting it.
salty. Don't even look at me. Just do your part.
That's coming out now.
Yeah, because I'll go like, oh, you're not
And less with the kids and more with the
They do, that's how I talk to them.
more with my staff. And Mary.
Stop helping.
You know,
Yeah, you gotta look at that one.
go away. Say, but you don't know her. That's true. I come in. Okay, so like, I don't know if you've ever seen. There's like a meme that I'm constantly checking with. It's like, I'm the morning person at work, and she's the one like,
Alright, 3, 2, 1. Hopefully talk about some of these physiological issues that includes your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, okay? Your digestion stops, okay? Your eyes dilate, the muscles tense. There's hormones that are released that can cause even long-term damage, okay? So this is all an effect of stress, which is really a reaction of your adrenal glands releasing a stimulant, epinephrine, into your body. And I will tell you this, and because I experienced it, in just totally has nothing to do with classroom management, but it might be something that you can identify with or see and go, huh. So yeah, your body can release chemicals and you can get kind of addicted to them. In fact, male depression presents itself differently than female depression. Did you know that? So, and this is typical in a large group. There's always one-offs or different reactions to review, but by and large, women tend to withdraw, they tend to eat more, they tend to find things that comfort them, and they kind of shut off the world a little bit. They're sad, they're mopey. Men, on the other hand, are actually looking for their chemical reaction from their body, and they get angry. Men have a tendency to get angry when depressed because it releases the same chemical that we're talking about with fight and flight, and all of a sudden they feel good, and everyone else feels bad. So, just something to think about if you're with somebody and they just kind of get into this rage for no reason, or you find that you're getting in a rage for no reason, that might be something to at least kind of look into and investigate. Okay, now back on topic. All right. So, one of the things that we need to do is to learn how to be calm in all situations. And have you ever thought of yourself, when you were thinking about careers, and you were checking the boxes and said, oh, I could do that, or I can't do that. And if you think, I want to be a paramedic.
No.
Nobody? And why did you say, no way, I'd be a paramedic?
Blood and guts.
Blood and guts, and what would it cause you to do?
It would cause me to worry.
Cause me to worry, cause me to panic, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And then, those of you with children, when you see blood and stuff, does it cause you to go into a panic, or does it, like, it's no big deal anymore?
Not a big deal anymore.
No big deal anymore, unless it's pretty significant, right? Okay. All right, same idea. We need to train you to be calm. All right, so now I want you to, does everyone have their partners? I want you to turn your chair towards your partner so that your feet are pointed at each other. And I want you to sit up in your chair with your back straight against the back of your chair.
I've been slept a lot. Trying to
all right, now, most important direction I'm going to give you right now is you can't talk, because you won't be able to hear what I'm saying, and you'll get it, you'll understand in a moment. Okay, first thing I want you to do is I'm gonna make you feel stressed, and then I want you to feel calm. And maybe you've done this before in other classes, but I want you to scrunch. So put your hands in your laps, and I want you to scrunch all your muscles and feel your legs tightening up. Tighten up your ab, your chest, your neck, and then relax. Take a relaxing breath and calm yourself down. Do you feel the two differences? Okay, so I want you to relax. Now, did you know that your students can read you like a book? Even if they can't read a book, they can read you. And what is interesting is, the younger the children are, the better they are at picking up body language. Okay, remember a Kindergarten Cop with Arnold Schwarzenegger? And the kids are going crazy, and she says, you got to scare them, right? Because they could read him. And he's a big menacing man, but they could read him. That's kind of true to life. Kindergarten teachers are like, oh yeah, they'll run my life ragged if I let them. Okay, so we want to have neither mad face nor a glad face. We want to be emotionally neutral. All right, so I want you to look at your partner, but I want you to grind your teeth or clench your jaw. That's not clenching your jaw. Clench your jaw at your partner. What does that look like? You got your teeth together right there.
This is my nice face.
Okay, what that does is it already shows irritation. All right. Are there other things that you do when you're irritated that kind of give it off?
Eyebrows go up.
Right? My dad.
There, you're so sweet.
I knew I was about to get hit or something bad was going to happen because my dad would do this. So we're waiting in line at a grocery store and my dad's getting impatient. Oh Lord. We all give off our tells, right? We're starting to be irritated. And part of it comes when we clench our jaw. So the first thing we're going to learn is we're going to take a relaxing breath. That's not a... Because that can convey something else too, right? I found that out in my first marriage. I would go, what's wrong now? I didn't even say anything. Okay, so it's not a, it's a relaxing breath. And we want to unclench our jaw so the tongue goes to the roof of our mouth. You cannot clench your jaw and put your tongue there at the same time. Okay? So I'm going to give the instructions. I'm going to say, check your jaw, which means to put the tongue on the roof of your mouth. Okay? And then you're going to find, it sounds weird, but you're going to want to make sure that you're looking at your student. So I want you to find a focal point, not their eyes. So maybe you are looking at like a dot right above their nose, right up here somewhere. Okay? All right, and now we're going to practice looking at each other with a very calm and no emotions look. The Queen Victoria, I am not amused look. Okay. All right, so you ready? Sitting up in our chairs. We haven't even got to that part yet. You can't laugh yet. We're going to get there, but we haven't gotten there yet. This is going to be fun. Okay. So sitting up in your chairs, hands in your lap. Take a relaxing breath. Check your jaw. Find your focal point.
She's laughing here.
We haven't gotten there yet. We're gonna. All right, relax. All right, let's try that again. Sitting up in our chairs, we're taking a relaxing breath. Check your jaw. Find your focal point. No emotion. All right. Now, we're going to carry walk. Okay? If whoever has the shortest fingernails is letter A. And the person with the longest fingernails is letter B. Okay. A's. You're going to have that relaxing look. B's. You can't say anything. You're going to try to make them smile.
Like that's hard.
Relax. You're playing poker.
Wait, you're I'm A. You're neutral and I'm
think about it.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go again. You can't talk. No words.
Right?
We'll get there. I know my laughing couple in the back are already going at it. All right. So, A's. Relax your body. Take a relaxing breath. Check your jaw. Find your focal point. B's, make them laugh.
He did.
You did the serious one.
3, 2, 1.
So you're really thing I gotta check this out because even my
We're gonna get goofier.
so much.
We have just
I'd ask her, are you okay? Like,
all right, let's try that again. A's, you're going to relax. B's, you're going to make them smile and see if you can, who can win. If you're playing poker, don't give it away. All right, not yet. Not yet. A's, here we go. Take a relaxing breath. Check your jaw. Find your focal point. B's, make them smile.
It's hard to
Okay. Let's switch. Bees. Bees. Bees.
Oh, that's regular.
You're going to sit up in your chairs, take a relaxing breath, check your jaw, find your focal point. A's, make them smile. No talking, no talking. Can't remember who's the A, who's the B. The B's relaxing and the A's
I work on my
Here we go again. It's up to you, the shorter thing.
It's in your face, I'm
Yeah.
No eye contact.
Here we go, bees. Sitting up in your chair, hands in your lap. Take a relaxing breath. Check your jaw. Find your focal point. Bees, make them smile.
Wait, what?
I'm sorry, you get it wrong? I got it wrong.
You said B twice.
Bees, bees. Bees, take a relaxing breath.
I'm here.
Check your jaw. Find your focus point. A's, make them smile.
I'm already laughing. I did.
Alright, 3, 2, 1.
Nope, done. Yeah, I don't think it's not working. With kids, it's a lot easier to keep a straight face when they're like, you know,
Okay, now we're going to go back to A's. B's, this time you may talk. And you're trying to make them laugh or smile. Say what you want to say. Pick your nose. You can burp in the mouth.
So this will be easy. We're laughing.
Alright, A's. Ready? Feet on the floor, hands in your lap. Take a relaxing breath. Check your jaw. Find your focal point. B's, make them laugh.
He told me that he started today. 1-5. You know, real gems.
3,
Better not have been in my
2,
chair.
1. Let's switch roles. B's. Sit in your chair, hands in your lap. Take a relaxing breath. Check your jaw. Find your focal point. A's, get your revenge.
That's the annoying sound of Claudia in the morning. Hi, how are you? Already, I
One.
feel myself boiling.
Okay. We're going to continue.
Boy with the seagulls already. Hey, Hector.
We're going to be practicing this over the next couple of sessions. And I know, like, are you kidding me? This feels so goofy, and it's going to get worse. But here's what we found. If you can master this with adults, it's way easier with your students. And when you can, first of all, feel calm. The thing we didn't really talk about is your brain downshifts when you are under attack. It literally goes from the neocortex to your brainstem. We talked about that last time when I said, remember when you were at the job interview and 20 minutes later you went, oh, I should have said, okay? Now think about 38 kids that are controlling you through this, and you're in nothing but reaction mode. You lost control, right? If you lose control of yourself, you're going to lose control of the entire class. So we are working on projecting an image of I am not amused, I'm not going to laugh at you, and I'm not going to yell at you. I have no reaction. By the way, when somebody is unpredictable, that is when they are the most fearsome. We are scared of people that are unpredictable. Okay? And when you provoke a when a student provokes a teacher, they're expecting a reaction of some sort. And when you don't react, what's going to happen to that student? They're going to wonder what's coming next, right? They don't know. And now all of a sudden, they went from the neocortex to their brainstem, and you win. Okay? You get that student to shut down for a moment and get a chance to think. All right, we're going to practice next the look as we're standing up. So let me demonstrate before you get up. So first, let me show you how not to do it. And you tell me why this would be bad. And tell me your name again.
Sally?
Sally. And we're going to pretend that Sally is the disruptive student in the room. You don't have to actually do anything, but we're going to pick on Sally. All right. And so I'm helping Larry over here.
Good old Larry.
And Sally is messing around. And I turn like this. What am I conveying? All kinds of issues, right? All right, let me try that again. Let's say I turn Sally and I fold my arm.
Knock it off.
It doesn't look good, does it? Right? Does it look like I'm ticked? What if I right? All kinds of body language is coming out. So how do we look natural and neutral to Sally? So here's how it's going to work. I'm helping Larry, and Sally makes a noise, and so I look up, and I see that Sally's messing around, and she didn't stop even though she saw me. And so I say, "Excuse me, Larry," and then I take a relaxing breath, check my jaw, and slowly, to like a count of 5 or 6, slowly turn, and I'm going to stand neutral.
It's almost creepy.
Now,
Yeah.
there are always the question of what we do with our hands. I'm not in favor of crossing our arms because that projects something. You can put your hands behind your back. You can hold them in front of you. I would recommend not putting them in your pocket because, especially ladies, if you go to work someday and you don't have pockets, and then you're like trying to find them. So, you need to figure out what you're going to do with your hands, but be consistent. So is there a difference between this and this? Which one's calm?
The second one.
All right. Now, above all, what you're trying to say without any words is, I am the dictator of this room. I am in charge. And you have to have that attitude. It is not a democracy in the classroom. You are the autocratic ruler in there, and what you say goes. And I'll tell you this 100 times. What are your standards? The answer is whatever you let the kids get away with. In any classroom, in every situation. You're the one that's in charge. And you have to have that confidence and project that kind of attitude. And I will tell you that when Fred Jones put together Tools for Teaching, he did all kinds of research. And he studied teachers that had great classroom management and found that they were unnatural. And then he tried to kind of understand, well, what's the difference between a natural one and somebody that needs to learn it? And part of it was having an incredible amount of confidence and an aura that says, you don't mess around in my class. This is my class. And if you do, you're going to have problems, right? Without ever saying it. It's not a challenge. It's not a, if you mess around, I'm going to, because then that doesn't work. What do we call that, by the way? Jenny was showing you with Bob. Is that right? The kid's name is Bob? Bob. And she kept asking Bob to be quiet. What strategy do you call that? Failure.
True.
What strategy do we call that? When you're asking somebody to do something over and over and over again, what do you call it? Insanity. Your mom might have tried it with you.
Nagging. Yep.
Nagging! That's the show! Oh my goodness. And so have you ever tried that, nagging? And does it wear you out? Does it wear the kids out? And does it work?
No.
It works a little bit, otherwise we'd stop using it altogether, but eventually it stops using all. Bob, 5 minutes later, is doing this thing again. Okay, let's try, and there's several steps, so this is, the first was the face, the second is the move. So I need you to stand up. want you to pretend that you're helping Larry, and so you actually need to turn 3/4 away from me. So you have to, or even you're almost to your back to me. But remember, you never turn your back on all your students if possible, especially someone as troublesome as me. Okay, so put one palm on the table. You're helping Larry. And then you hear a disturbance over here, so you take a look at this disturbance. You don't lift your hand yet. You say, "Excuse me, Larry."
Excuse me,
You take a relaxing breath. You check your jaw. And you slowly turn towards the problem. And don't laugh, don't smile. You guys are good. That was good. All right, let's try that again. They were like not amused. Like one of my jokes just went.
No, Larry. Good job.
All right, here we go. So we'll try that again with the cues. So you're helping Larry. You hear a disturbance over here. You go back down to Larry. You say, "Excuse me, Larry."
Excuse me, Larry.
Take a relaxing breath. You check your jaw. And you turn slowly towards me. Okay, so I saw some of you wanted to turn towards me as soon as you check the problem out, right? There's some steps along the way. Why are those steps there? It gives you a chance to calm down, clear your brain, and make sure that you're still thinking with the logic of your brain and not your brainstem. So let's try that again. Palms down, button hooked. You hear a problem over here. You look back down at Larry. You say, "Excuse me, Larry."
Excuse me, Larry.
Take a relaxing breath. You check your jaw. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Go back, go back. Try it again. You still have a palm down. Slow down. You can slow down. Unless there's a fight going on in your room, you have plenty of time. Let's try that again. You hear a problem. You check the problem. You turn back towards Larry. You say, "Excuse me, Larry."
Excuse me, Larry.
Take a relaxing breath. You check your jaw. You haven't left it. You haven't stood up yet. There you go. And you slowly turn towards me. Very good. Does that feel natural or hard? I don't know about y'all, but I want to move quick, right? There's a problem over there. What the heck's going on? Right? And then what have we done? Without even meaning to do so, what have we done? With our body language to our problem, Sally's over here, and she's the problem, and I move like that aggressively. What have I just done? I might as well have called her out by name and said, "Would you knock that off?" And the rest of the class is going to go, "Ooh." Right? And now she's going to say, "Oh, heck no, I'm not going to lose space in front of this knucklehead." And she's going to up the ante. And because I'm now already shifted into my brainstem, I'm going to insult her back. It's not her back talk that's going to get her kicked out, it's mine. Okay? So we have to remain calm. We have to try this again. I know it seems like, golly, this is really slow and silly and goofy. I know. But it works. It works. All right, back down. Okay. Let's see how we go. Now you know the pacing.
Not that funny.
This time I'm not going to say anything other than, here's the problem, and do your thing.
Excuse me, Larry.
Almost went there. Huh? Very good. All right, have a seat. Okay. Right? So does that make a difference, do you think, if I'm standing this way versus like this? If I'm... Does that kind of show some attitude? It does.
Well, you show a lot of attitude.
The hard part is when you do
I'm
it,
good.
and they don't even notice you're looking at them with on the ball.
Fantastic. So next we are coming back in, or we're going to do it this time.
What?
We're going to practice one more thing tonight
Queen Liz.
called the move in. All right.
It's supposed to say Queen Victoria, but I think subconsciously I always put Queen Elizabeth because I know it drives him crazy. I think it's a subconscious thing.
Okay. So that step 1 is the calm face. Step 2 is the turn. Step 3 is the move in. Okay. So, and tell me your name again.
Michael.
Michael Pearson, right?
Land.
And I got your
I'm remaining calm.
There we go, Michael Land. And I had a couple emails from you today, so I remember that.
That's true.
So, all right. So, Michael's causing me some problems. And I was over here, and I did the look, and Michael is still goofing off. So what do we want to do? So, Michael, would you do me a favor and turn?
I'm not doing anything.
Turn 3/4 the way. Turn your whole chair the other way. Like your back's almost to me, right? And, all right. So, what do we do now? Here's the rule. When you open your mouth to engage with the student, you have kind of invited a student to talk you back. So how do we move in without saying anything? Does that mean that we never address the student's behavior with our talk? Sometimes we will even say, Mike, stay after class, and everyone else is released for recess or second period, and then we're going to address Michael's issue when he's by himself, because now I know that he's not losing face, right? But for now, middle of the class period, and we've got a long ways to go, and he's not even turning, so what am I going to do? I'm going to slowly walk in, and if I'm giving direct instruction, I can continue to give instruction. Does Michael know while I'm here?
Yes.
Is there any confusion about that? All right. And even as an adult, with me standing this close to him, he's already feeling uncomfortable. About 60 to 70% of the time, especially if he's a good kid and he's just off task, he's going to realize I'm sitting here, and he's going to do what? He's going to get back to work. So show that. So I came over here, and I'm standing here, and Michael knows why I'm here. So what if Michael's a good kid? What is he going to do? He gets back to work. What should I do as a teacher? I will in just a moment. What I want to see, though, is not what we call half a loaf. I want to see full commitment into getting back to work. So I'm going to ask Michael to put his feet under the table. I'll do it a little quietly, though, because I don't want everyone else to hear me. Why is that important? Because I've just broken the especially if you turn to this cute girl that's sitting right here, right, trying to flirt with her, I've just broken that. I've committed him physically to getting back to work. But I'm not going to walk away yet. I'm going to camp out a little bit until I see some genuine work going on. And then when I see it, I'm going to say, thank you, Michael. And I'm going to walk away. Right? Now, it can get worse, right? So I move in on Michael. And Michael goes, what? I wasn't doing anything. I was just helping her. If you teach this class right, I wouldn't have to help her. What is Michael doing? He is upping the ante. What is Michael's motivation, by the way? What do you think he wants to do more than anything else?
Save face.
He wants out of the class. Right? What happens, by the way, when we kick a student to the curb and they go to the office? Are they engaged in instruction?
No.
Are they engaged with the credentialed teacher?
No.
Right? All right. So who gets Michael when I send him out of class?
The hallway.
Office staff.
Administrative assistant. Does she have a credential? I'm assuming it's a she, but okay, right? And is he getting? Did he take his work with him? So he's doing a worksheet or reading his book, or no? So how long is he going to have to sit there? Until administrator is available, right? Which may be right away, but more likely it is half hour down the road. How about this, secondary teachers? First part of the class, you've had enough with Michael. It's Thursday. It's already been 5 days of this, and you 5 days, and it's only Thursday, right? And you send him. You catch that? Come on. And you send him to the office, and he's back before the period's over. They didn't do nothing to me, right? How do you feel when that happens? I mean, have you ever happened to that? Anyone? How did it feel? Were you like ticked off? Why didn't admin do something? Okay. And was it something similar? Just disrespect, disturbance? Okay. What is admin thinking on the other side of things? Well, there's a checklist of procedures that I wanted you to take before you send them to me. Did you follow those? Is there a referral? How much how expensive is to send Michael out of class? Cheap or expensive? Very expensive. Because you're going to now have to write a referral for sending him out. That takes 15, 20 minutes, right? Whether it's right now, some want it right now, I don't know what your policy is at your site, which means you have to do what for the rest of instruction? You're shutting it down just to take 20 minutes to write a report. If you're at the high school, maybe you're calling security to escort him to the office because you don't want him just walking off campus. All right. Is he getting instruction during the 20, 30, 40 minutes he's out of class? No. All right. Hopefully you're saving the rest of the students and they're getting, but my guess is that by the time you send a student out of class that you're so ticked off that you are now not at your best game, right? And are the students in the rest of the class going to get your best? Probably not. Okay, so how do we keep Michael in the classroom? Michael says things like, what are you doing over here? I wasn't doing anything, and I don't say anything, but just camp out. Is that going to be a shock to Michael's system that a teacher's not yelling at him or disciplining him or saying, get away out, go outside and wait for me? Or he doesn't get anything. What he wants is out, or what he wants is attention. He's not getting that either. All he's getting is me standing in his personal space. And he can continue, if you play poker, you know what that's in the pot and you want to, you can raise the stakes, right? You can raise the ante. And Michael's trying, but what happens if I don't call him? In poker, if somebody doesn't call you, then you're done, right? I'm just going to stand here and listen. And finally, because Michael is somewhat of a good kid. He was a good kid a few minutes ago. I don't know what happened to him. Come on, man. And now we're downgrading to, he's somewhat okay. But the longer I stand here, the more uncomfortable he gets. I'm going to get compliant work. Once you get compliant work, then I can walk away. But do I allow this back talk to continue? This time I say, only he can hear it, Mike, and see that in the class. And then what's going to happen? Mike and I are going to have a genuine conversation. What's going on? This is not like you. Usually we get along really great. And what you may discover, first of all, I will tell you that 90% of the time, not all the time, but 90%, this behavior that you're getting back isn't really directed at you. You just happen to be in proximity to whatever it is he's emotionally garbaging, pulling up. Many times the symptoms that we're seeing in class aren't related to us. I will tell you that, and this is going to sound really weird, but I will tell you because of a fact that I love being 54 because I've seen a lot now. And one thing I've learned in kind of late in life is behavior that I interpret as disrespectful may not be intended as disrespect. Let me say that again. Behavior that I interpret as disrespectful may not be intended as disrespect. Why? Because we all have different norms in the house that we grew up in. And my mom, everything was disrespect. Okay? And I'm learning that just because I didn't get a thank you doesn't mean that person was disrespecting me. But to my mom, that's disrespect. Right? Oh, Mom, thank you very much. 3 months later, well, how come you didn't write me a thank you letter? Worse, how come your daughter didn't write me a thank you letter? Mm-hmm. Come on, Ash, I need some help here. Could you write a letter to thank you, Grandma, for whatever? But to Grandma, that's disrespect. To me, it's like, I got a hug and a kiss and a smile and we're good to go. Behavior that I interpret as disrespect may not be intended as disrespect. The second is disrespectful behavior may not be intended for me. They're just had it. It's bad day, bad week, bad month. I mean, junior high girls, y'all can go off on because the wind blew from the south and now it's going north. Am I lying? No. And I don't understand it, but I'm learning to tolerate it. Just because you're not telling me anything and you're giving me one-word answers doesn't mean it's disrespectful intent. Or maybe you're mad about, have you ever been mad at something and you go home to your significant other and you go, and you're letting them have it? Like they were the ones that caused the problem? I'm telling you, trust me on this. Behavior that you interpret as disrespect may not be disrespectful, or disrespectful behavior may not be aimed at you. It just might be disrespectful behavior. Okay, so Michael's giving me back talk. I'm standing right here, and Michael finally figures out nothing, I'm not going to do anything until he gets back to work. Because he stopped putting in the chips. He's too expensive now. He's already put in 3 raises. What else you want? I got nothing. Okay? All right. Now, let's imagine that it's continuing to get worse. And I will tell you that we have something coming towards the end of our sessions that I'm not going to mention today, but it's really good and it really works. But we don't give it out at the beginning because you'll take that and do nothing else. And then you'll abuse it and then it'll stop working. So there's something coming that there is a consequence here. I'm not going to share it with you today because you'll pull it out and then it won't work. I will say this. The things that we're teaching you now, front-loading you, work about 80% of the time. And it works with your good kids who are having a bad day 95% of the time. Right? I know that you have outlying kids. I know that you have the one-offs. I know you have the one kid that, like, when they're absent, the class is smooth as silk. I get that. Guess what? You're going to have that same student next year, but they're going to have a different name and a different body. So we need to figure out some strategies to deal with that now, because this isn't going away. Kids are kids. I'll tell you something else that you may not realize, especially if you're new to teaching. Students in their own classroom are not like you. Most of you are overachievers who loved school and couldn't understand why kids were talking in class. Right? And you're looking at these kids going, God, don't you want to learn? And the answer is, no, they don't want to learn. The second thing is that kids are not motivated by grades. All the way through high school. They could care less about grades until the last week of school when they realize, oh my gosh, if I don't get my grades, I don't get to play baseball, I'm going to lose my tendon, and my dad's going to get mad at me. Then all of a sudden they care about grades, and they want to throw in all this late work, and what about extra credit? And then mom calls, why isn't my student getting extra credit? And why can't we do it to get this grade up? And you're like a week before school. What the heck? Kids are not motivated by grades. You have to find a way to engage them, and we're going to talk about that. We have 3 sessions just on lesson planning. Woo!
My favorite.
All right, let's get back to Michael because he's still causing me problems here. Man, Michael, you went from good to okay to not. What am I supposed to do? So Michael's still not working, and we're going to try this. So this feels awkward to Michael. Phone's gone away, pencil's down, he might be back talking, and now I'm going to put a palm down. What am I doing? I'm getting more into his personal space, but have I said anything yet? I will caution you, on some kids this doesn't work. So you have to pick and choose. Some kids have a reaction to an adult getting into their personal space that can be negative. But that's an outlier, that's not normal. Okay? Most of the time they'll just feel uncomfortable, as Michael's beginning to feel right now. So we put a palm down. And we're waiting for Michael to get back to work. Do I say anything? I might give him a non-verbal cue. Does everybody know what that means? Doesn't matter what language you speak, right? I tapped your paper. What does that mean? Good to work. Now Mike might have some questions about the word. I don't understand, blah, 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 blah. And we'll talk about helpless hand raisers and that sort of thing, and trace prompt and lead on another session, but there might be, okay, we're not going to help him real quick and then move away. But let's just say that Michael he's gone from bad to worse. Dang, Michael. Now I'm here with 1 palm, I'm going to go to 2 palms. And I'm not leaving until Michael gets to work, but can I still see the rest of the class? I don't even need to make eye contact with Michael because he's not looking at me anyway. Now that's still not working. What can I do? I have one last resort. I can go to an elbow.
That's not awkward.
Have I really invaded his
Awkward
space?
for me.
Yes. Is it still uncomfortable?
Yeah, I mean, I wish you were helping Larry.
All right. A's. A's, stand up.
I was gonna tell you that the whole go up to them and tell them quietly that you wanna see them. My son, he's the good kiddo out of my daughter and my son. And he says to me the other day, his teacher, he goes, I got in trouble today, and I was like, what? His thought of trouble, but anyways, so I said, what did you do? He said, well, we were looking at our grade we got, and Miss so-and-so, what's her name? She said, Paul, get up and go to the back of the room. And so he did, and he's one of those good kids. He went up and down the back room. Then she says, go outside now. Like, just like that. And I was like, well, what did you do? Why did she say it? And he goes, Mom, really, I just was showing him my grade. And she took him out in the middle of class and talked to him. And I go, well, how'd that make you feel? He goes, I really just hate her now. And he's not a bad kid. And I just thought about how if she would have just actually went over and did that one thing, he may have think differently of her now. He will never ask her for help. So anyways, that's just, yeah, that's too bad.
All right, so I want you to take 6 steps away from your partner. 6 real steps. And I want you to button hook, so you only have like a shoulder to your partner. All right. And then I want you to pretend like you're helping Larry. So palms down. All right. The partner's causing problems. The bees are in trouble. You take a look. You take a relaxing breath. You check your jaw. You slowly turn towards the problem. Even though the problem is looking at you, they're not changing their behavior. You quietly move in, slowly move in. The problem is not stopping. You ask your problem partner to put their legs under the table. You wait for compliant work. They're still not getting back to work. You go to one palm. They're not working, you get a non-verbal cue. They're not working, you go to 2 palms.
You can tell we work together.
They're getting back to work, but you don't leave yet.
Oh, no elbow.
You quietly stand up, but you stay there. You watch them compliance. You say thank you and walk away. All right, have a seat. Bees, how did that feel? How did it feel? What can I do to get her to leave? That's the reaction that you're going to get the majority of the time, like 80, 85%. So guys, let me explain something real quick. We're going to teach you a lot of things, but 2 things will make sure that your classes run smooth. 1 are engaging lesson plans, and there is an incredible, strong correlation between having kids engaged and having kids know what they're doing, okay? We're going to teach you some other things about procedures and those are important too. But I will tell you the number 1 thing is engaging lessons, and number 2 is managing a classroom with your physical presence and never saying a word. This will handle 75 to 80% of your classroom issues. Think about that statistic for a moment. 75 to 80% of your issues can just be taken care of because you're working the room like a comedian and you're turning this table from green to red. They're already like, oh my gosh, why did he come over here? Right? And if this is your natural way of teaching, if you're constantly walking the room, they'll get used to that. Right? And even as I'm teaching and you're sitting, does it feel different now that I'm lecturing you from back here? And you're like, what? Your phones went away. Right? You're even more on high alert. A lot can be done, and most of your kids are good kids. Right? They want to please you. But sometimes they get sidetracked or distracted. They don't even know they're causing problems. And next week, next time you come back, we're going to show you a video some of you may have seen about a kid who learns he's a drummer, not a problem. So we're gonna talk about that. And we're gonna see that next
That
time.
one makes me cry.
All right, B's, stand up, walk away from your partners.
Yeah, I'm gonna get teamed up here.
I'll go around the other way. Are you gonna go over there?
All right, so B's, you're button hooked, you're helping Larry. You hear a disturbance, you look up, you take a relaxing breath, you check your jaw, you slowly turn towards the problem. The problem's not getting any better. Did you turn? You already want to talk? How'd that happen? All right, so you should stand up and turn towards your partner. Well, now, this is a great point. So I asked you to turn to your partner, and you kind of gave her one of these. What does that say? My body's only this much turned to the problem.
I know, I've got two of them.
What have I just told Sally?
Two.
I'm only partially committed to stopping it. So what do I need to do to Sally? I need to go full in. Yes. Okay, see the difference? All right, but Sally's still not paying any attention and goofing off, so I need you to move in. Slowly move in. So now you're camped out. But the problem's not stopping, so you go to one palm. You want to make sure your partner's feet are completely under the table. Redirect them. But they're still not getting back to work. So now you're going to give them a non-verbal cue. You're still not getting cooperation, so you go to two palms. Your partners are beginning to go back to work, so you stand up, but you're still camped out. You see compliant work, you say thank you, and walk away. All right, that's
I really want that turn. Oh, I'm like, this is what we're doing.
all right, I'm going to pick on Kevin for a moment because Kevin and I go way back. And I know that Kevin coaches baseball. All right, so Kevin was an outfielder when he played baseball, so I'm sure you still coach outfielders?
Yeah.
Okay. When you are teaching a player to catch a ball, take a crow hop, and throw the ball to the cutoff man, do you break it down into steps?
Yeah.
So, and do they get to do step 3 if they have not mastered step 1?
No.
So it's always mastery and then move on to the next one. Okay, that's actually how we're going to do our lesson plans. But I also want to tell you today that that's how we've done teaching you the look, the being calm, the Queen Victoria look, and moving in. But I don't think you've mastered it yet. So I'm going to warn you, we get to do this all over again next time. But I want you to try it, because you also need to master this. It's not enough for me to introduce it to you. It's one of the great advantages of having 10 sessions instead of 3 days, because you would never have a chance to go home and try this and come back. So we have 2 weeks before we meet again, October, whatever it is, 14? And I want you to try this. We're going to ask you to share with us how it went when you came back. So it's you're getting calm, the look, and moving in. Those 3 things will solve a lot of issues for you. All right. Any questions about that? How did it feel when you were sitting down and the teacher was moving in on you? Did it feel weird? How about as an adult moving in on another adult? Did you feel like it was kind of like, whoa, this is weird?
Yeah.
Check it out. I knew that it would, but if you can get over the way it feels now, you'll have no problem moving in on a kid, right? And so that's why it's actually kind of better to let this be a lab and you experiment with that. Okay, good. All right, and we're almost done. Homework, we are done. Did you post these? They will be posted. These 2 articles will be in the classroom that you need to read. And then there's a questionnaire that will be, but it's not there
I will get it tonight before I.
And if you're in the classroom, when they put an assignment in there, it generates an email as a reminder.